Good evening. This is the Eclectic News Network. My name is Brian, and I'm here today on Saturday. It is now August 29th. Unbelievable week going on here with what's going on with the riots in Wisconsin and what's going on with everything else in the world. Let's start off with the riots in Wisconsin. Now, let me ask you a question. When you go to this shooting here, what do you see?
Medical. Kyle Rittenhouse is the teenager who took a weapon onto the streets as a self-styled protector. This was the moment his efforts ended in the deaths of two people, when he was chased by a crowd and shots were fired. Earlier in the night, he was captured on camera, apparently having been pepper sprayed.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Hey.
No.
The 17-year-old's social media postings show him to be a Donald Trump supporter. This was from his attendance at a Trump rally. He wasn't the only armed civilian on the streets of Kenosha on Tuesday night. These pictures show a tense standoff between protesters and members of the public, militia style, guarding a petrol station. The following night saw more peaceful protest. It didn't stop Anthony Perini patrolling, armed, from the roof of his petrol station.
We're not walking around with AK-47s and trying to look militant. We want to avoid any kind of situation, but at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in property rights, and this is my baby, and I'm going to protect it to the best of my ability.
We went to a gun shop just over the state line in Illinois. In the current climate, business is booming. In this state, there's been a 500% increase in the number of people looking for a license to own a firearm. This is an AR-15, similar to the weapon involved in Tuesday's incident. They say in this gun store, this wall was full at the start of the week. Now it's half empty. According to the store manager, business growth is based on fear.
It's been the busiest year we've seen in several years. People are scared. They're not sure what's going to end up happening. A lot of people just want to be able to protect themselves.
There are problems and solutions at the heart of America's election campaign.
We will put out the fire, we will put out the flame, we will put out the vandalism, because the vandalism and the looting is ridiculous.
Looks like self-defense, but we won't really know, we won't really be sure until we really actually see what's going on. What I see is a lot of things going wrong here in the Civil War that's continuing in this American state here in the year 2020. Either party, it does not matter. Both parties are complicit in it. Yes, Joe Biden is the hologram in the basement, but Donald Trump also is going to be using this to something I believe is akin to Nixon in 1968.
It is time for an honest look at the problem of order in the United States. Dissent is a necessary ingredient of change. But in a system of government that provides for peaceful change, there is no cause that justifies resort to violence. Let us recognize that the first civil right of every American is to be free from domestic violence. So I pledge to you, we shall have order in the United States.
So, if you look at the polls, they're saying Biden is going to win 50 to 40. I think it's 50 to 44 or 50 to 42. That's what they're saying after the debates. They haven't debated yet. After the conventions. So, but there's probably about, I would say, 10 to 15% that are silently voting for Trump. That aren't reporting. So I would say it's more like Trump's going to probably win 300 and probably 30 votes electorally to Biden's 205. I think he'll win Minnesota. I think he'll win Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and he does have a shot of winning even the state of New York. New York is fed up right now, and he was down by 21 in the month of April. Now he's only down by 7. So that's into play as well. I truly believe that. Now, obviously, they won't have that. It doesn't matter. They'll sit there and say, well, Trump's going to do this, or, Joe Biden's going to do this. Joe Biden's a hologram of the base, but he's not going to do anything. It's going to probably be Trump. He's probably going to win the Electoral College again. I'm going to mark it down. And he's probably going to lose the popular vote by a wider margin. Now, a lot of people would say, well, why would that matter? This is why we only need the popular vote in election. Wrong. The reason why you have an electoral college is because an election isn't decided by 5 major cities. That's the reason why. It's not by the 5 major cities like New York, Chicago, LA, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, and Boston or Philadelphia, which are basically 70 to 80% Democratic. And then a lot of people don't understand that there's a reason why that. We're not a democracy. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. We are a constitutional republic with the rights of one cannot be taken away from the mob of the majority. So any document that you see in the Declaration or if you see in the Constitution doesn't say anything about a democracy per se. It talks about being a constitutional republic. That's what it talks about. So what is going to happen in the next, I would say right now, 3 months, September, October, November, December. So we're looking at the next 4 months. You will see unrest. I would probably say maybe even a black swan event. Maybe the economy. Maybe there's going to be war with China. Who knows? Personally, I think that, I think Trump, and I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in any party. I have to say I believe Trump will win the Electoral College. He will win again. Now, I know I have a lot of people that are just greatly happy about that, but there's a lot of people that are very upset about that. Oh, how could that be? He's up in the polls. Doesn't matter. He's going to win. I mean, it's Donald versus Goofy. The presidential reality show is show business for ugly people. But the only way you can stop this is through the local level. And the thing is that Trump, he's law and order, and he did the same thing that Nixon did in '68. And unfortunately, he's going to win, and my concern in that is that they're going to increase the police state. And I think he's going to make a deal with the vaccine makers to get a forced vaccination. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that Joe Biden, even if he wins, he's not going to be president. Heck, it might even be Hillary coming back. Who knows? Kamala Harris, she doesn't even sell well. She doesn't age well at all. Beautiful woman, I mean, for her age, good looking, but she's not leadership material. I mean, it just did not sell well after the convention, the Democratic Party. They had Billie Eilish there, some woman with lava lamp hair. She's like, we all know. Well, here, let's play a clip of her.
Donald Trump is destroying our country and everything we care about. We need leaders who will solve problems like climate change and COVID, not deny them. Leaders who will fight against systemic racism and inequality. And that starts by voting for someone who understands how much is at stake. Someone who's building a team that shares our values. It starts with voting against Donald Trump and for Joe Biden. Silence is not an option, and we cannot sit this one out. We all have to vote like our lives and the world depend on it, because they do. The only way to be certain of the future is to make it up.
So it's not going to stick. The majority of Americans aren't going to put up with it. Whenever people turn violent, they go to the right. And I'm not saying that's right. I think Donald Trump has a lot of flaws. But if he does get reelected, I think they'll increase the scope and size of the police state. But I think if he does win, they hold it up in the courts. I think there will be, rioting, burning in the streets. They're basically going to say, give us the election or we're going to burn down everything. Basically holding the economy and the economy and the people hostage. And I don't think it's going to work. I think that, just did a 4 mile hike, sorry. I don't think it's going to work. You know, it should be decided by the courts. Them telling you that they're going to get the military to get them out of there. That's not going to happen. That's unconstitutional, number one. Number two, I'm trying to think if it's either A, the House of Representatives has to decide it if it's tied at 269, or if it's something where the election isn't decided. I think it's the House of Representatives or the Speaker of the House becomes president. January 20th, that would be Nancy Pelosi. Maybe she give us a discount ice cream. But anyways, the dollar is going to fall in value even more. Right now it's around 92, 93. You know, silver and gold have kind of been flat this week, up and down. I still think I see it going up even more. I think they're pushing the price down on purpose. You know, you see these gains of 5 or 6% in silver in one day, and then you see these drop-offs of 3%. Gold goes up 2-3%, $100 in one day, and it goes down $70. If they took the beach ball out of the water and just let it fly up, I think you would probably see them not suppressing gold prices by buying future contracts. I think that you would see gold prices be at probably about $2,500 right now, and I think silver would probably be about $50. But it'll get there. Inflation will hit the country. By the end of the year, I think you'll see a housing crisis in the form of evictions. 36% of homeowners missed their mortgage payment last month. 27% missed a rent payment. There's 40 million evictions in the waiting right now, because right now there is no eviction process because of the Donald Trump executive order, which I can't stand that. I'm a renter. I mean, hell, I might as well just not pay my rent for the next 4 months, because heck, I could just use that and buy a down payment, buy a house. Why should I do that if there is no thing stopping them? And that's another thing for the payroll tax. I don't think it should be put away either, because if I get elected, then I'll go ahead and I'll forgive the tax. You don't have to pay it back at tax time. Well, it's kind of bribing your way for votes, in my opinion. You're saying, well, if I don't get elected, then you have to owe the money back. And it's like, okay, that's not how it's supposed to work. And a lot of these people are saying, well, I got an extra money in my check. Yeah, you do. However, it's a deferred, to me, it's just like a 0% loan. That's all it is. So it is what it is. I mean, yes, it's something that's needed. I agree with it. However, I think government shouldn't really be involved in the unemployed. I think that the unemployed should have savings. The unemployed should have the ability to take care of themselves. I mean, before 1940s or 1930s, we never had unemployment insurance. We didn't have Social Security. And when we had a recession or a depression, it lasted like 6 months, like the Depression of 1920. It was so short that it didn't last that long. But they're going to continue this out, and it's going to be very bad. And then there's going to be a food shortage as well. Food shortages are coming, and that is going to kill the third world. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't care about the third world. Well, you should, because if the third world dies, then the first world will be brought down to second or third world status within a decade. And that's with the carbon tax. The carbon tax, they said they want to cut 20% of the carbon by 2030. That'll kill 1 billion people. That's from their studies. They're already at 40% this year because of the COVID lockdown. The COVID lockdown, by the way, is just basically a front for their depopulation agenda. Read Event 201, read the Rockefeller documents, read the documents in 1973 with Henry Kissinger, State Department Memoranda 200 back in 74, where he talks about using food as a weapon, starving out the third world, bringing down the first world into austere measures. That has always been the elite's plan, the controlling oligarchy. So Trump is basically just a guy that has controlled opposition. That's what I think. When I do my due diligence and I actually do some critical thought, that's what I think he is. Because people will say, well, we can't have Harris or Biden. You got to vote like your life depends on it. Well, there's a third option. That's what I'm doing. I'm not voting this election because I feel that both parties are basically Coke and Pepsi. I mean, the recipe might be a little bit different, but it's the same. Oh wait, if you don't vote for me, we'll be a socialist country. Hey, Donnie, we already are. When you pass $3 trillion in stimulus, we already are a socialist company. So I don't want to hear these Republicans going, well, I'm for small government. I'm for small spending. Don't spend. That's bullshit. You know it. And I'm fed up with it. And I'm fed up with the Democrats sitting there going that, you know, well, Mao was great. He was a really good guy. He really got things done. This guy was a mass murderer that killed almost 80 million of his own people. And the Great Leap Forward. I don't like him. Or, you know, the Russians are going to get us, or, you know, whatever. And yes, I do believe that they're going to weaken the United States to where China and Russia can come together in an alliance to do a tactical first strike on the U.S. soil, either by EMP or neutron bomb, because that way you don't ruin the atmosphere and you don't ruin the soil for 300 years that a nuclear bomb would. At the end, the winter will bring about a twindemic where you'll have the pandemic of COVID-19 and, of course, the flu season that'll prompt another lockdown probably by September or October of this year, and it'll last all the way until next year until they come out with the vaccine. So those are my predictions for the rest of the year. I'm Brian Butt, and this is the Eclectic News Network. And guess what? One thing I have to tell you, stay tuned and always remember, critical thought is important, even though truth is a menace and logic is an enemy. I'll talk to you soon.